Okay, so you've stumbled onto another episode of Let's Chat Sales, and this time we're talking about checklists of all things and how to use them to be effective in your sales process. So I hope it's helpful. I hope you like it. If you do, like and subscribe, and let's dive in. All right. All right. Hey, Bob, here's a confession. I like these chats simply because it gives us a chance to kind of rattle through some sales stuff. It's just an effort for me to think about something, and I'll probably turn this into a blog post. I just read Atul Gawande's book. What is it called? Now I don't remember the name. It's
The
the
Checklist
check.
Manifesto.
That's it. Thank you. The Checklist Manifesto.
Nothing
And
like reading a book and not knowing the title.
oh man, I tell you. So it got me thinking, and I thought what we do is we brainstorm a little bit today about a sales checklist. I'm saying that knowing that you're not a huge fan of them.
I'm not a fan of checklists. I find that when I get very stressed,
Yeah.
I write a list of all the things I have to do to keep my sanity.
Yeah.
And I put that list in my pocket, and then I find it in my shirt pocket 3 weeks later.
So it doesn't.
It's the writing of the list. I'm good at writing the list. I'm not really good at checking the things off, and I'm not really good at going back to it. But the therapeutic part for me is just putting it all on a sheet of paper. So
Okay.
I don't forget, if you
So
will.
that is what I would consider that a to-do list.
Okay.
It's a shame you hadn't read the book. It's quite good.
I actually read the book about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago.
It's funny. It's a pretty good book. It could have been a long blog post, but he's got some very good stories in it. And because he's a physician and kind of a world-renowned doctor and scientist, he made it a study. And so he was quite rigorous in terms of understanding the importance of checklists, especially in the application of surgery, because there are a lot of mistakes, there are a lot of moving parts, there are a lot of steps along the way. It's easy to miss one, and you don't want them to miss them. We both have been the beneficiaries of rather complicated surgery, and you do not want your doc to miss a step along the way. That was his motivation for understanding the importance of a checklist. And they were invented originally, or so the story goes, at the beginning of World War II, because Boeing had come out with the B-17, which was absolutely revolutionary as a bomber, but very complex. And it was killing the test pilots. And the reason it was killing the test pilots,
right?
Literally killing them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's metaphorical, but I think you meant literally.
No, they were crashing and the planes were smashing up in little pieces.
That's a problem.
Yeah. So as a result, they came up with these checklists for the pilots to remember to do all the steps along the way in order to get these things into the air, fly them, keep them up and upright, and then land properly. And they created these sets of checklists, and the consequence of that is the pilots were able to fly these planes quite successfully and without problem, and we defeated the Germans. So I was just thinking about the importance of that in the sales capacity, like going into a sales call or as you're going through the sales process. My sales process is something of a checklist, but it's kind of too many steps.
Well, and I think a complex process is really a good idea for a checklist.
Yeah.
I think of, if you watch SpaceX, you see the checklist and they're going through it step by step because there are a million steps and you can't miss one. Right. It'll go wrong.
Right.
I think sales works that way. What I would really caution against for me, if I'm doing a sales call and I have a checklist, I'm always afraid that I'm just gonna parrot the language of the list. And if they answer the third question first and I don't log it, I'm gonna ask them the same question.
That's not really what I'm thinking. I'm thinking in terms of preparation. I talk about having a sales toolkit and having things in place and ready to go. And so a checklist in Atul Gawande's world, Dr. Gawande's world, is it shouldn't be long. It should be on one page. It should be 7 to 12 steps. They should be only the major steps. And so one of the things I always talk about is getting prepared for a sales call. What are the steps that happen in order to get prepared for a sales call? And, one of them is, we've talked about before, is confirming the call the day before, right? Making sure like a day or more before. So the day of the call, the moment of the call, and nobody shows. Another one is there an agenda? Have you created an agenda for the call? It could be 3 or 4 simple bullet items. Who should be on that call? What are the key objectives that you want to accomplish in the call? What are the things you want to learn? What are the 2 or 3 things you want to learn? These are all kind of steps along the way. What are the 2 or 3 things that the customer wants to get out of the call? Right. Can you satisfy both of those? Another one would be, what resources do you need for the call? Like, do you need a specific sales presentation? Do you need to have a demo set up? If it's a demo, what parts of the demo are the most important parts to show? What do you anticipate? Because nothing's worse than having some rote demo that you go from A to B to C to D all the way to Z, and you force the customer to listen to all sorts of crap that doesn't matter to them.
Right.
And so can you distill the demo to things that matter and then bounce to those things? And whomever's doing the demo, are they prepared to do it? Is it set up? Do you have the Zoom call scheduled? Now these days, sort of stuff is almost second nature. Now it just happens automatically. If you're going somewhere, do you need directions? It's like what things ought to
take
be
technology, all those things. Just a quick story. I had a meeting with the law firm, and I go into their office. I'm all set to do a PowerPoint on my laptop.
Yeah.
They're all iPad people.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can send us your presentation. You have to send it up to a cloud to this location, and then we'll download it. It worked for them, but it was a huge delay in the process. I didn't ask in advance. I'm like, so tell me about your technology. Because I could have sent it to them a day early.
Right. Like certain projectors don't handle HDMI, or they're Mac, or
I
you're
need
a
to
Mac
bring my
guy,
own clicker.
Right. Whatever those things are. So what's in your checklist? Like, do you have to carry business cards? Is that important? Right. Those sorts of things, like what goes into
what's the leave behind if you have a leave behind?
That's one good example of the use of a checklist. And for me, having a set of items that have I done these things? Boom, boom, boom. At some level, you can go through them in your head.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't hurt to have them written down somewhere, so like, what am I missing anything? So that would be one. Another might be, what about when you get to the contract phase?
Mm-hmm.
What needs to happen at that point?
Who needs to see it within your organization?
Right.
Who needs to see it within their organization?
Yeah. And when?
Where's the language coming from?
Yep. Is it their contract or your contract?
Right.
Have you allowed enough time to get the contract done? If you're talking to a major corporation, you have to back into how quickly can they turn this around? You might get a master services agreement that's 30 or 40 pages. Like, hey, we're going to be at this point in the process in a few weeks. Who else needs to be involved? What other approvals do you need to get? That's part of a checklist. The idea of like, who needs to see it on your side, to your point, and who needs to see it on the other side. Those are questions you have to ask.
I think one of the other areas, Brendan, where it would be valuable as I think through it is, if I'm a founder and I'm not accustomed to doing the sales process, or I'm not comfortable with that sales process, having that checklist is going to keep me much more focused and much more reined in, so that I don't go astray in an area that, frankly, I may not really feel comfortable. I may not want to be doing it, but it's a necessary part of what I need to do to grow my company.
Right. This is essentially like having a process, like having processes and being able to document the process. And so something as simple as a checklist is also a useful tool to be able to communicate with members on your own team. So when you're in a sales situation, here are the 10 things that need to happen between now and the end of the sale. If you can send that around to people ahead of time, they know what to expect. They know when to show up. They know what their role is. They know what they need to be prepared to do. And so it's a useful tool in that way.
Do you have any checklists that you share with your customer as you're going through this whole process?
Yeah, it's funny. Miller Hyman used to have these things called blue sheets, and
you are going way, way, way back. That's like a history lesson, dude.
I'm
1970s, early 80s, right?
80s, certainly 80s. Yeah. 90s. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I have a variation on that. I use it for enterprise accounts in particular. And I have at several occasions shown it to my customer. And one of the things that I operate off of is this idea of org charts and the importance of understanding how an organization breaks out and the various roles and so forth. And I've had customers tell me, oh, you're missing so-and-so in this org chart, or you really need to talk to this person, or these people are tight, these two, or these people don't get along. And so the org chart, the account planning document acts as a form of a checklist. Who's uncovered? One of the things that this goes back to Miller Hyman and just sales in general is, in an enterprise sales situation, who's involved in the sale and who isn't covered? Who haven't you talked to? It's oftentimes the people you don't know or you haven't talked to that can cause you the most trouble or can prevent
so
the sale,
true.
right? And so in that regard, the account plan acts as a form of a checklist.
I'm curious, you have all these checklists.
Yeah.
Do you use them religiously, or if I were to go back, do you literally print them out and check them off on a sheet of paper?
Not all of them.
Have you ever had a situation where you didn't follow your checklist and it bit you?
Oh yeah, of course. I don't use them all religiously. I have been quite religious when it comes to the discovery document that I use.
Okay.
I'm pretty good about that because it really acts as two things. It's a reminder to make sure that I'm covering certain questions. I'm making sure that I'm getting answers to things that are important to the deal. Number one. And it also works as a notepad or basically, it allows me to kind of organize my thoughts and take down my notes in one place. And so that effectively acts as a checklist. That's one. The other is I do the account plan because I find that that's a great way for me to think about who I need to talk to, who I haven't talked to, what happens next, and being able to see the org chart visually and being able to see all the things that are going on in that deal condensed. Yeah, I find to be really helpful for me. So yeah, in those two instances, I do. Yeah.
Okay. And tell me a story about when you didn't use your checklist to its fullest potential and how that bit you.
Oh, well, I've been known to fly by the seat of my pants from time to time.
Really?
Yeah. And
that's news.
I find that being overly prepared is not my, what is my mantra? The perfect is the enemy of the good. And
there you go.
And a B+ performance delivered right away is better than an A- delivered in a week or two. So I don't know of one in particular that I've had, but I've had a bunch. I have traveled on a plane, flown, ended up in a place, and then had the people not there because I didn't confirm the day. Oh, we didn't have it on our calendar. Oh.
I didn't know you go that dark. That's just dark.
Yeah. Well, it was just clumsy on my part. Where was it? I think I flew to Boston and I was in the lobby calling. Oh, they're not. Oh, no, they're not here. And then I reach them finally. What do you mean you're not here? Oh, geez, we didn't put on the calendar. Well, something came up.
I appreciate you sharing that. That made my day.
Yeah. Well, this is great. And here's why, because I'm going to write this up. This is a blog post for sure.
All right.
But this is useful. This podcast thing is useful.
Awesome.
I hope everyone else gets. I hope other people get as much out of it as I do.
I thought that was your mantra.
Yeah.
We'll see you all really soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Bob. Hey. Okay. So that's another episode of Let's Chat Sales. Thank you for watching. And by all means, check out one of the other episodes, which I think will be sitting right here. I think. So thanks, and like and subscribe.